Welcome to the Stories of Genesis by Bible Intelligence. You are listening to part 1 of 3. In this part, we will look at the stories of creation to the Tower of Babel. Chapter 1. In the Beginning, the Creation Story. The vast cosmos echoed with an encompassing silence, punctuated only by the distant hum of nascent stars. The universe, immense and mysterious, was a canvas of void and darkness. And then, in that emptiness, a voice resonated, divine and profound. Day 1. The voice declared, "Let there be light," and there it was, a blinding brilliance slicing through the darkness, transforming night into day. God beheld the light, radiant and pure, and saw that it was good. Thus he separated the light from the darkness, naming the light day and the darkness night. Day 2. With a word the heavens were crafted. God called for an expanse to separate the waters, creating the vast sky. This sky, an azure canopy, stood between the waters above and those below. Day 3. The voice commanded the waters below to gather, revealing dry land. Mountains rose, valleys formed, and sprawling plains stretched out. God named this land Earth, and the gathered waters he named seas. And God, seeing the vast landscapes, desired for them to teem with greenery. Soon the earth bloomed, trees bearing fruit, flowers unfurling their petals, and grasses covering the meadows. All sprouted, painting the world in shades of green, gold, and russet. Day 4. Then the heavens were adorned. God crafted 2 great lights, the sun, a golden disk burning fiercely to rule the day, and the moon, its softer counterpart, to rule the night. Stars, too, were scattered across the sky, sparkling gems against the velvet expanse. Day 5. The voice beckoned, and life began to stir. The waters teemed with creatures, mighty whales, nimble fish, and all manner of sea beings. Birds took to the skies, their songs a chorus of joy. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply." Day 6, upon the earth, God conjured even more life. Beasts of every kind roamed, majestic lions, towering elephants, and creatures both great and small. Then, in his most profound act, God crafted beings in his image, humans, to be stewards of this wondrous creation. He blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and govern it." Day 7. After this magnificent act of creation, God rested. He looked upon all he had made, a world brimming with life and beauty, and saw that it was very good. And so the 7th day was sanctified, a day of divine rest. The universe, once silent and void, now danced with light, life, and endless possibility. This was the beginning of all beginnings, a testament to the power and love of the Creator. Chapter 2. Breath of Life. The Creation of Adam. In the heart of the world, where the land was untouched and pristine, the Garden of Eden flourished. Here every tree bore fruit, every blossom exuded fragrance, and every brook sang a melodious tune. In this sanctuary of harmony, God desired a being, a steward and a companion for his wondrous creation. The earth, damp and rich, yielded under the touch of the divine. With great care, God sculpted a figure from the clay, a form with arms, legs, and features, a being like none other in the garden. This figure, though shaped with precision and care, lay still, devoid of the spark of life. Then, in a moment both tender and profound, God leaned close, his breath warm and life-giving. He breathed into the nostrils of the clay figure. A miraculous transformation began. The once cold and colourless skin warmed, turning a lively shade. The chest rose and fell as the rhythm of life, a heartbeat, echoed within. The man's eyelids fluttered open, revealing eyes that reflected wonder and intelligence. He took his first breath, felt his first sensation, and heard the gentle rustle of the garden around him. God looked upon the man, his creation, and named him Adam, meaning from the ground, for he was formed from the very earth itself. Adam, now alive and sentient, looked around with awe. The world was new to him, the colours, the sounds, and the feelings. He felt the cool grass beneath his fingers and the sun's gentle warmth on his skin. Birds circled above, singing their welcoming songs, while curious creatures approached, eager to meet this new resident of Eden. God, seeing Adam's wonder, said, "Behold the Garden of Eden. It is yours to tend, to care for, and to enjoy. Every tree, every plant is yours, save for one, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You must not eat from it." Adam nodded, the weight of the responsibility settling on him. Yet, surrounded by the wonders of Eden and in the presence of the divine, he felt a profound sense of purpose and gratitude. In this sacred garden, under the watchful eyes of God, humankind's journey began. Adam, the first man, stood at the precipice of countless adventures, challenges, and discoveries, with Eden as his playground and protectorate. Chapter 3. Completing the Circle. The Creation of Eve. As days turned into nights and nights into days, Adam immersed himself in the tasks of Eden. He named the creatures, tended to the plants, and relished the beauty surrounding him. But as he walked the paths of the garden, a quiet realization dawned upon him, a sense of solitude amidst abundance. Adam watched pairs of animals frolic and care for one another, lions resting side by side, birds sharing songs in harmonious duets, and even the trees, it seemed, leaned towards each other, their leaves whispering secrets. Yet for Adam there was no counterpart, no companion with whom he could share the splendors of Eden. God, in his infinite wisdom, recognized this longing in Adam. "It is not good for man to be alone," he mused. "I will make a helper suitable for him." Under the shade of the tree of life, as the sun began its descent, casting the world in hues of gold and crimson, God cast a deep slumber upon Adam. In this tranquil sleep, God took one of Adam's ribs, and with the same divine craftsmanship with which he had formed the universe, began to shape another human. This figure, though reminiscent of Adam, was distinct, delicate curves, softer features, and a gracefulness that seemed to be the very embodiment of life itself. As dawn painted the sky, God breathed life into this new creation, and she awakened. Her eyes, deep and luminous, looked upon the world with wonder and delight. Adam, roused from his slumber by the morning chorus of birds, caught sight of her. In her, he saw a reflection of himself, yet she was wholly unique. He approached, and their eyes met, a connection profound and immediate. "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh," Adam exclaimed, an elation in his voice. "She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man." God looked upon them, Adam and Eve, the first pair of humankind. Together they complemented each other, a testament to divine design. In the heart of Eden, two souls now wandered, exploring, laughing, and learning. Eve, the crown of creation, completed the circle. Their journey together in this paradise was just beginning, filled with the promise of companionship and love. Chapter 4. Temptation's Shadow, the Fall of Man. In the heart of Eden, amidst all its wonders, stood a tree unlike any other, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Its branches stretched skyward, and its fruit, enticing and radiant, promised wisdom. Yet with this promise came God's solemn warning: do not eat from it. A boundary had been set, and in this boundary the heart's true intentions would be tested. Days flowed in harmonious rhythm, but even in Eden shadows could form. Among the garden's creatures, a serpent, cunning and eloquent, watched the humans with keen interest. He noted their joy, their love, and their occasional glances towards the forbidden tree. One fateful day, the serpent approached Eve as she admired the tree's shimmering fruit. "Did God really say, 'You must not eat from any tree in the garden'?" the serpent whispered, his voice dripping with feigned innocence. Eve, her defences up, replied, "We may eat from the trees in the garden, but God did say, 'You must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, nor touch it, lest you die.'" The serpent, sensing her uncertainty, pressed on, "You surely will not die, for God knows that when you eat from it your eyes will be opened, and you will be like him, knowing good and evil." Eve, now entranced by the fruit's allure and the promise of wisdom, reached out. The weight of the fruit in her hand felt like destiny. Taking a bite, the world around her seemed unchanged, but within, a transformation began. She offered the fruit to Adam, who, standing beside her, partook without hesitation. Almost instantly, a profound awareness washed over them. The world's innocence faded, replaced by vulnerability, doubt, and a sense of loss. Realizing their nakedness, they sewed fig leaves together, crafting makeshift garments. God, sensing the shift in the fabric of Eden, approached them. "Where are you?" he called out, though he knew what had transpired. Adam, his voice tinged with shame, replied, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And so the truth unfurled. God's disappointment was palpable. The serpent, for his deception, was cursed above all animals, forever to slither on the ground. To Eve, God foretold the pain of childbirth and the complexity of her relationship with Adam. To Adam, he declared that the ground was cursed because of him, and from then on he would toil and sweat for his sustenance. The harmonious days of Eden were at an end. God lamented, "The man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and also take from the tree of life and eat and live forever." Thus, Adam and Eve were banished from the Garden of Eden, their paradise lost. To guard the path back to the tree of life, God placed cherubim and a flaming sword, its blaze turning every which way, ensuring that no one would ever re-enter. From paradise to exile, the course of humanity had shifted, yet even in this moment of profound loss, the seeds of redemption and hope were sown, a story that would continue to unfold through generations. Chapter 5. Brothers Divided. The Tale of Cain and Abel. Outside of Eden, the world was harsher, less forgiving. Adam and Eve, adapting to their new reality, were soon blessed with the joys of parenthood. Cain, the elder, emerged with the strength and resolve of a tiller of the ground. Abel, the younger, had a gentle spirit, finding kinship with the flocks he tended. The brothers, shaped by their distinct paths, brought offerings to God, a testament to their labor and a gesture of reverence. Cain presented the fruits of the soil, the produce he had toiled hard to cultivate. Abel, on the other hand, offered the firstborn of his flock, choosing the fattest portions, a genuine reflection of his dedication. God, in his infinite wisdom, looked upon the offerings. Abel's sacrifice, given with a pure heart, found favor in God's eyes. Cain's offering, however, was not regarded in the same light. The reasons were known to God, and perhaps deep down to Cain himself. Cain's face darkened with jealousy and rage. The seeds of bitterness took root, overshadowing the bond of brotherhood. God, perceiving Cain's struggle, reached out. "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you refuse, sin is crouching at your door, eager to control you, yet you can rule over it." But Cain, consumed by his emotions, beckoned Abel to the fields. And there, amidst the waving grains and under the vast expanse of the sky, a tragic drama unfolded. In a moment of blinding rage, Cain struck down his brother. Abel's life force ebbed away, his blood crying out from the ground. God, his heart heavy with grief, confronted Cain. "Where is your brother Abel?" Cain, defiance evident in his voice, retorted, "Am I my brother's keeper?" God replied, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground." As a consequence of his heinous act, Cain was cursed. The ground, which had once yielded bountifully for him, would now resist his efforts. A restless wanderer he would become. Cain, despair evident in his voice, lamented, "My punishment is more than I can bear. Today you drive me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence." However, even in this grim moment, God's mercy shone. He marked Cain, ensuring that no one who encountered him would take vengeance upon him. In the land east of Eden, a tale of two brothers had come to a heartbreaking end. Jealousy, the first spark of humanity's darker inclinations, had cast its long shadow. Yet within the tapestry of these tales, the enduring themes of redemption, consequence, and hope persisted. Chapter 6. Lineage of Promise. From Adam to Noah. The world grew older, and with the passage of time, the family of Adam multiplied. Generations came and went, each carrying the weight of Eden's memory and the hope for a brighter future. In this lineage, names stood out, not just as markers of time, but as bearers of legacy and purpose. From Adam, the first man, came Seth, a beacon of hope after Abel's untimely demise. Seth's name meant appointed or compensation, signalling a renewed promise from God. As the years turned into centuries, the lineage continued. Enosh, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared. Each life, a testament to humanity's resilience and the unfolding of God's grand narrative. Among these names was Enoch, who walked so closely with God that he did not see death. Instead, in an act of divine grace, he was taken up, a mystery that would be talked about for generations. However, as humanity grew, so did its propensity for corruption and wickedness. Hearts grew colder and deeds darker. Yet amidst this backdrop, another name emerged, a beacon in the growing darkness: Noah. Noah, the 10th from Adam through the line of Seth, found favor in the eyes of the Lord. While the world around him spiraled into chaos, Noah's heart remained upright and righteous. God, witnessing the depths to which humanity had fallen, declared, "I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them." But in Noah, God saw a glimmer of hope. He spoke to him of his plans, of an impending deluge that would cleanse the earth. Yet God also spoke of salvation, a massive ark that Noah was to build, ensuring the survival of his family and a pair from every living creature. The world stood at the brink of a monumental shift. From the genealogy of Adam to the righteousness of Noah, the narrative was clear. Even in the face of overwhelming darkness, hope could never be fully extinguished. Chapter 7. The Great Deluge, Noah's Testament. The earth, once a canvas of divine artistry, now bore the scars of humanity's misdeeds. The Creator's heart was heavy with grief, but in Noah a remnant of righteousness persisted. God, in his wisdom, revealed to Noah the blueprint for salvation, an ark, vast and formidable. Made of cypress wood and coated in pitch, it was to be a refuge from the coming storm. "Make rooms in it," God instructed, detailing its dimensions, "and bring into it your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives. Of every living creature you shall bring two, a male and a female, so that they may survive with you." Noah, with unwavering faith, set to work. As the ark took shape, whispers spread among the people. Some mocked, others questioned, but Noah remained resolute, guided by divine purpose. Years passed, and the monumental task neared completion. Then, as foretold, animals began to arrive. From the mightiest beasts to the smallest insects, they came in pairs, a living testament to Earth's diversity. Once the ark was populated and provisions stored, God spoke again to Noah. "In 7 days, I will send rain upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe out every creature I have made." Noah with his family entered the ark, and as the 7th day dawned, the first drops began to fall. Gently at first, then with growing intensity, the heavens poured forth. Springs from the deep also erupted, and the waters surged, swallowing valleys, hills, and mountains. Inside the ark, amidst the muffled sounds of rain and waves, there was a different reality, a sanctuary of life amidst a world undergoing rebirth. The ark, borne by the rising waters, floated above a world unrecognizable. For 150 days, water dominated the landscape, but God, ever watchful, remembered Noah, and a wind began to blow. Slowly the waters started to recede. After 40 days, Noah, seeking knowledge of the world outside, released a raven. It flew back and forth, unable to find rest. Then he sent forth a dove, which returned, signaling that the waters still covered the land. After another 7 days, the dove was sent out again, and this time it returned with an olive leaf. Another week passed, and when the dove was released, it did not return. A sign that the earth was emerging from its watery shroud. Months passed, and the ark came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat. As the ground dried, God spoke to Noah, "Go out from the ark, you and every creature with you." Emerging into a world reborn, Noah built an altar, offering sacrifices in gratitude. God, pleased by this act, made a covenant. "Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, nor will I destroy every living creature. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night, shall not cease." From the depths of destruction arose a new beginning, a world cleansed and renewed. In the heart of this story stood Noah, a beacon of faith amidst despair and the promise that hope would always find a way. Chapter 8. Covenant of the Rainbow. Generations of a New World. The world, once engulfed by the vastness of water, now teemed with life anew. With the receding tides and the promise of continuity, Noah and his family stepped forth onto an earth reborn. God blessed Noah and his sons, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth." He established new ordinances emphasizing the sanctity of life. "Whoever sheds human blood, by humans shall their blood be shed. For in the image of God has God made mankind." And as a perpetual reminder of his covenant with every living creature, God set a vibrant bow in the clouds, a rainbow. It was more than just a beautiful play of light and water. It was a divine signature, an assurance that never again would waters become a flood to destroy all life. Yet, life outside the ark was not without its complexities. As the wine from the first vineyards intoxicated Noah, an incident occurred that would delineate the futures of his sons. Ham, having seen his father's nakedness, told his brothers Shem and Japheth. Instead of partaking in mockery, Shem and Japheth, with respect and reverence, covered their father. This act of dignity led Noah to bless Shem and Japheth, while foretelling a different future for Ham's lineage. As the years flowed, the earth saw the rise of new generations. From the 3 sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, came the clans, the tribes, and the nations. From Japheth arose the maritime people, those who spread across coastlines and isles, venturing into distant lands. From Ham came mighty rulers and great cities, including the enigmatic Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord, who founded the beginnings of the Babylonian and Assyrian empires. From Shem, the ancestor of the Semitic people, came the lineage that would carry forth the torch of monotheism, leading in time to Abraham, the progenitor of the Israelites. Each clan, with its distinct language and territory, laid the foundation of the world's diverse cultures and civilizations. From a single family emerged a tapestry of humanity, as diverse as the colors of the rainbow that arched the skies. Through them, the world was repopulated, setting the stage for Chapter 9, The Tower That Touched the Sky, Babel's Ambition. The earth, echoing with the footsteps of Noah's descendants, now witnessed the rise of a united humanity. With a shared language and a collective ambition, they sought not just to inhabit the world but to redefine it. In the land of Shinar, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers meandered, the people, driven by a shared vision, declared, "Come, let us build ourselves a city, with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves and not be scattered over the face of the whole earth." Their tools were bricks and mortar, but their true strength lay in their unity and the power of a common tongue. As the tower rose, brick by brick, it became more than just a structure. It symbolized humanity's audacity and desire for greatness, perhaps even challenging the heavens. However, this act of collective pride did not go unnoticed. God, observing their endeavors, remarked, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them." In response to their overreach, God introduced a confounding element: diversity of language. Suddenly, the harmonious chants of construction turned into a cacophony of confusion. Words, once universally understood, now became barriers. Babel, which sounded like the Hebrew word for confused, became the apt name for the city. Unable to communicate, their shared vision crumbled. The once united people found themselves fragmented, not by bricks and mortar but by the very words they spoke. Their grand project remained unfinished, a testament to the limits of human ambition. God's act was not merely a check on pride, but also a push towards diversification, encouraging humanity to spread, explore, and populate the vast expanses of the earth. In the plains of Shinar stood a tower, half-finished yet wholly symbolic. It bore witness to humanity's potential, but also to the importance of humility. From Babel, the world expanded in a mosaic of languages, cultures, and stories, each echoing the divine plan of diversity and exploration. Welcome to the Stories of Genesis by Bible Intelligence. You are listening to part 2 of 3. In this part, we will look at the stories of Abraham to the stories of Isaac. Chapter 10, A Calling Beyond Horizons, The Journey of Abram. As the earth rippled with diverse tongues and cultures post-Babel, a singular voice emerged from the crowd. In the lineage of Shem stood a man named Abram, destined to become the cornerstone of a great nation. In the city of Ur, Terah fathered Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran had a son, Lot, but met an untimely death, leaving young Lot under the family's care. The family's journey began with Terah's decision to move from Ur to Canaan, but they settled in Haran, where Terah lived out his days. Amidst this backdrop, God reached out to Abram with a profound and transformative command. "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. Those who bless you will be blessed, and whoever curses you will be cursed, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you." With faith as his compass, Abram, at the age of 75, took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all their possessions, and set forth to the land of Canaan. The journey led them through diverse landscapes, and as they entered the heart of Canaan near the great tree of Moreh at Shechem, God appeared once more, promising, "To your offspring I will give this land." In reverence and gratitude, Abram built an altar there, marking his covenant with the divine. As they continued their journey, moving to the hills east of Bethel, Abram pitched his tent and built another altar, worshipping the Lord who guided his steps. However, when famine gripped the land, Abram descended to Egypt for refuge. Fearing for his life due to Sarai's beauty, he introduced her as his sister. This ruse led Pharaoh to take Sarai into his palace, bestowing wealth upon Abram. But God, watching over his chosen one, plagued Pharaoh's household with severe diseases. Realizing the truth about Sarai's relationship with Abram, a chastened Pharaoh returned her and commanded them to leave Egypt. With newfound wealth and God's promise echoing in his heart, Abram retraced his steps, journeying back to the land of Canaan. From Ur to Haran, Canaan to Egypt and back, Abram's journey was more than a mere traversal of lands. It was a testament to unwavering faith, divine guidance, and the birth of a covenant that would shape the destiny of nations. Chapter 11. Separate Paths. The Choices of Abram and Lot. With the vastness of Canaan stretched before them, two kinsmen faced a crossroads. Their combined wealth was immense, their herds plentiful, but the land could not sustain them together. A choice had to be made. Returning from Egypt, Abram and Lot found their wealth had grown considerably. Both possessed large herds, tents, and numerous servants. However, this prosperity became a point of contention. The land, though vast, struggled to support both their flocks. Disputes arose between their herdsmen, an unsettling discord in a land already occupied by Canaanites and Perizzites. Recognizing the brewing tension, Abram approached Lot with a proposition of peace. "Let's not have any quarrelling between you and me," he urged, "for we are close kin. Isn't the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left." Standing on the hills of Bethel, Lot surveyed the landscape. His eyes were drawn to the fertile Jordan plain, well-watered and lush, reminiscent of the Gardens of Eden or the opulence of Egypt. Choosing the Jordan Valley, he journeyed eastward, settling near the city of Sodom, a place infamous for its wickedness. Abram, in turn, moved to the oaks of Mamre in Hebron, building yet another altar to the Lord, renewing his devotion and trust in divine guidance. As time flowed, the region became a cauldron of political unrest. Kings formed alliances while others rebelled. The stage was set for a great battle, with 4 kings pitted against 5. The battlefield echoed with the clash of swords and the cries of warriors. Victorious were the armies of the 4 kings, who plundered the cities of the plain, including Sodom, taking its riches and its people captive, including Lot. Word of the calamity reached Abram, and with the fire of determination, he marshaled a rescue force of 318 trained men. Pursuing the captors as far as Dan, he launched a night raid, defeating them and reclaiming not just the stolen goods but also his captured kinsman Lot. In the aftermath, Melchizedek, the king of Salem and a priest of God Most High, blessed Abram, saying, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth." Gratefully, Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. In the dance of destiny, paths diverged and choices were made. Abram and Lot, bound by blood but driven by different desires, faced the challenges and consequences of their decisions. Through it all, Abram's character shone, a beacon of righteousness, loyalty, and faith. Chapter 12. Promises and Patience. The Covenant with Abram and the Birth of Ishmael. Under the vast canopy of the night sky, filled with a myriad of stars, God's promises to Abram echoed, amplifying the challenges of faith, patience, and human frailties. Abram, despite his prosperity and victory, found himself wrestling with an unsettling void. Without an heir, he felt the weight of his legacy slipping through his fingers. Addressing God, he lamented, "You have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir." But God, in his profound wisdom, led Abram outside, beckoning him to gaze at the heavens. "Look up at the sky and count the stars, if indeed you can count them," God declared. "So shall your offspring be." And in that silent communion under the cosmic expanse, Abram believed, and God credited it to him as righteousness. The Lord further assured Abram by establishing a covenant, a promise that his descendants would inherit the land from the Wadi of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates. To seal this covenant, Abram prepared a sacrificial offering, splitting animals in two and laying them opposite each other. As night deepened, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and he experienced a prophetic vision where God foretold the trials and eventual triumph of his descendants. While divine promises resonated with Abram, Sarai, burdened by her barrenness, grew impatient. Seeking a solution, she proposed her Egyptian maidservant Hagar as a surrogate, hoping through her to build a family. Abram agreed, and Hagar soon conceived. However, this decision complicated their household dynamics. Hagar, now bearing Abram's child, viewed Sarai with contempt. Feeling undermined, Sarai treated Hagar harshly, prompting the maidservant to flee into the desert. There, by a spring, the angel of the Lord found a distraught Hagar. Offering solace and guidance, the angel said, "Return to your mistress and submit to her. I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count." He also foretold that her son should be named Ishmael, meaning God hears, for the Lord had heard of her misery. Taking this divine counsel to heart, Hagar returned. In time she gave birth to a son, and Abram, now 86 years old, named him Ishmael. The complexities of faith and human desires intertwined in Abram's life. While the heavens bore witness to a divine covenant, on earth, choices and their ramifications unfolded, setting the stage for the future chapters of a great lineage. Chapter 13. A new name, a renewed promise. The circumcision covenant and the three visitors. Amid the ever-shifting sands of time, God's voice echoed once again, reaffirming promises, altering destinies, and introducing symbols of everlasting covenants. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared and declared, "I am God Almighty. Walk before me faithfully and be blameless. I will confirm my covenant between me and you, and will greatly increase your numbers." The profoundness of this encounter transformed Abram, both spiritually and in name. God proclaimed, "Your name will no longer be Abram but Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations." For Sarai too a new destiny awaited. "She will be called Sarah," God said, "and I will bless her, ensuring she bears you a son, and through her kings of nations will descend." Stunned by the prospect of fatherhood at such an advanced age, Abraham laughed inwardly, pondering, will a son be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? Yet God was resolute. The son to come would be named Isaac, and through him the everlasting covenant would be maintained. As a symbol of this covenant, God introduced the rite of circumcision, a physical mark to be borne by Abraham, his descendants, and all members of his household. Embracing his role in this divine plan, Abraham, on that very day, circumcised himself, his son Ishmael, and every male in his household, forging an unbreakable bond with the Almighty. Time continued its relentless march, and one day as the heat of the sun reached its zenith, Abraham, now seated by the entrance of his tent near the great trees of Mamre, spotted 3 men standing nearby. Driven by the customs of hospitality, he rushed to greet them, bowing low. "Let a little water be brought, and then you may all wash your feet and rest under this tree," Abraham offered, ensuring they were treated to a lavish meal with tender meat, bread, and milk. As they ate, one of the visitors, bearing a divine message, inquired about Sarah. "I will surely return to you about this time next year," he declared, "and Sarah, your wife, will have a son." Sarah, overhearing this from the tent's entrance, couldn't suppress her laughter. The thought of becoming a mother at her age seemed absurd. The Lord, perceptive to human emotions, questioned Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh? Is anything too hard for the Lord?" Confronted by this divine inquiry, Sarah, in her nervousness, denied laughing, but God, knowing all, simply responded, "Yes, you did laugh." Promises renewed, covenants sealed, and unexpected visitors, Abraham and Sarah's lives were inextricably woven into God's grand tapestry. And even in moments of doubt, laughter, or incredulity, the Almighty's plan was always in motion, with surprises at every turn. Chapter 14. Sodom's Reckoning, the plea for righteousness and a city's downfall. As the sun cast long shadows across the land, the destiny of 2 cities hung in the balance. Abraham, the friend of God, found himself interceding for the wicked, while Lot faced the consequences of his choices. After their meal, the three visitors set out towards Sodom, with Abraham accompanying them part of the way. The Lord, contemplating the dire fate awaiting the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah due to their grave sinfulness, chose to confide in Abraham. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Abraham voiced his concerns. "Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous within the city? Will you then sweep away the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous who are in it?" God in his mercy affirmed, "If I find at Sodom 50 righteous in the city, I will spare the whole place for their sake." Abraham, driven by hope and compassion, continued to negotiate, lowering the number progressively: 45, 40, 30, 20, and finally 10. With each reduction, God showed remarkable patience, agreeing each time to spare the city if that smaller number of righteous souls were found. Meanwhile, in Sodom, as evening enveloped the city, Lot sat at the city gates. He noticed the two angelic visitors, part of the trio who had visited Abraham, and offered them shelter in his home. But as night descended, the wickedness of Sodom's inhabitants was unveiled. A mob surrounded Lot's house, demanding the newcomers be handed over to them. In a desperate attempt to protect his guests, Lot even offered his own daughters to the mob. But the angels intervened, striking the crowd with blindness and urging Lot to gather his family and flee, for the city's doom was imminent. Lot hesitated, finding it difficult to detach from his life in Sodom. Sensing his reluctance, the angels seized his hand, along with the hands of his wife and 2 daughters, leading them out of the city. "Flee for your lives," they urged. "Don't look back and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains or you will be swept away." As dawn broke, with Lot and his family having reached the small town of Zoar, a cataclysmic judgment descended upon Sodom and Gomorrah. The heavens rained down sulfur and fire, obliterating everything: buildings, vegetation, and life. In the midst of this chaos, Lot's wife, unable to resist the urge, looked back and became a pillar of salt. From a distant vantage point, Abraham too witnessed the somber aftermath: dense smoke rising from the land, a haunting reminder of a city's descent into depravity and its ultimate reckoning. In a world of moral complexities, Abraham's compassion, juxtaposed with Sodom's wickedness, offers a sobering reflection on the power of choices, the urgency of righteousness, and the depths of divine justice and mercy. Chapter 15: Aftermath and Misjudgment, Lot's Retreat and Abraham's Deception. In the wake of devastation, human nature, with its flaws and strengths, emerged amidst mountain caves and foreign lands. Lot and his 2 daughters, having narrowly escaped the cataclysm that befell Sodom and Gomorrah, found refuge in the mountains, settling in a cave. Removed from the remnants of their previous life and society, isolation took its toll. Believing they were among the last people on earth, the daughters, driven by a desire to ensure their lineage's survival, devised a troubling plan. On consecutive nights, each daughter made her father drink wine until he was inebriated, then lay with him. This union bore 2 sons: Moab, the ancestor of the Moabites, and Ben-Ammi, progenitor of the Ammonites, tribes that would play significant roles in later biblical narratives. Meanwhile, Abraham, navigating the regions with Sarah, journeyed to the land of Gerar. Here, echoing a previous incident in Egypt, Abraham, fearing for his life due to Sarah's beauty, introduced her as his sister to the inhabitants and King Abimelech of Gerar. Believing Sarah to be unmarried, King Abimelech took her into his palace. However, God intervened in a dream, revealing Sarah's true identity as Abraham's wife and warning the king of the grave consequences of taking another man's wife. Startled by this revelation and keen on maintaining his integrity, Abimelech confronted Abraham. "Why did you do this?" the king questioned, expressing his grievance. Abraham, in his defense, explained his fears and partially justified his claim, mentioning that Sarah was indeed his half-sister. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Abimelech swiftly returned Sarah to Abraham, and as a gesture of goodwill, gifted him sheep, cattle, slaves, and 1,000 silver shekels. Additionally, he granted Abraham permission to settle anywhere within his lands. Before parting ways, Abraham prayed for Abimelech and his household, for God had temporarily rendered the women of Gerar barren due to the incident with Sarah. With Abraham's prayers, God lifted this curse, restoring fertility to Abimelech's household. In the ebb and flow of life's experiences, Abraham and Lot's paths diverged in response to trials and decisions. Yet through missteps and divine interventions, destiny unfolded, revealing the intricate interplay of fear, faith, and fortitude. Chapter 16. Miracles, Sacrifices, and Tests. The birth of Isaac and a father's trial. In life's vast tapestry, threads of joy, sorrow, and profound faith intertwined, manifesting divine promises and revealing the depths of human commitment. Sarah's laughter of incredulity from months ago transformed into a joyous one as she cradled her newborn son Isaac, meaning he laughs. The miracle child, born to parents well past childbearing age, was a living testament to God's faithfulness. As Isaac grew, Abraham held a great feast to celebrate the boy's weaning, a significant milestone in those times. However, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Sarah noticed Ishmael, Abraham's son, with Hagar, mocking young Isaac. Distressed and protective of her son's inheritance, she demanded that Abraham send Hagar and Ishmael away. The request deeply troubled Abraham, for Ishmael too was his son. But God reassured him, urging him to heed Sarah's words, with the promise that Ishmael would also father a great nation, owing to his lineage. Reluctantly, Abraham provided Hagar with provisions and sent her and Ishmael into the wilderness of Beersheba. As the water depleted, Hagar, unable to bear the sight of her son's suffering, left Ishmael under a shrub and moved away. Tearfully, she pleaded for God's intervention. God heeded her cries, and an angel called out to Hagar, reassuring her of Ishmael's destined future. Then, God opened her eyes to a nearby well, ensuring their survival. Back in Abraham's world, he and King Abimelech of Gerar solidified their mutual respect and peace through a treaty at Beersheba, marking the establishment of a well and planting a tamarisk tree as symbols of their covenant. Yet, Abraham's faith was to undergo its most grueling test. God instructed him to take Isaac, the son he cherished, to the region of Moriah and offer him as a burnt sacrifice. Torn between agony and obedience, Abraham embarked on this challenging journey. Upon reaching the designated mountain, Isaac, carrying the wood for the burnt offering and noticing the absence of a lamb, innocently inquired, "Father, where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" With a heavy heart, Abraham responded, "God himself will provide the lamb, my son." As Abraham bound Isaac on the altar and raised his knife, an angelic voice halted him. It was a test, and Abraham had proven his unwavering faith. A ram, caught by its horns in a nearby thicket, was provided as a substitute sacrifice. God reaffirmed his covenant with Abraham, promising immeasurable blessings and descendants as numerous as the stars. From the jubilant birth of a promised son to the pinnacle of spiritual trials, Abraham's journey echoed the profound complexities of faith and obedience, etching lessons of trust, sacrifice, and divine providence into the annals of history. Chapter 17. Farewells, Betrothals, and Legacies. The endings and beginnings of Abraham's journey. The cycle of life, with its joys and sorrows, carried forth as Abraham navigated the passing of loved ones, ensured a future for his son, and embraced his own mortality. The city of Hebron bore witness to the somber moments following Sarah's passing. Abraham, mourning the loss of his beloved wife, approached the Hittites, requesting a burial site. They offered him any choice location, acknowledging him as a prince of God. Opting for the cave of Machpelah, Abraham purchased it from Ephron the Hittite, establishing it as the familial burial site. With the weight of ensuring Isaac's future heavy on his heart, Abraham entrusted his senior servant with an essential task: to find a suitable wife for Isaac from Abraham's homeland, ensuring the lineage's continuity. With 10 camels loaded with gifts, the servant set forth on his quest, praying for divine guidance. Arriving at a well in the city of Nahor at evening, the servant's prayer was specific. The woman who offered water to him and his camels would be the chosen bride for Isaac. Before his prayer concluded, Rebekah, a vision of grace and kindness, approached the well. Fulfilling the servant's silent criteria, she offered him water and even drew for his camels. Learning that Rebekah was of Abraham's kin, the servant was overwhelmed with gratitude. Invited to her family's home, the servant relayed his mission to her father Bethuel and brother Laban. With divine signs evident, they agreed to the match, and Rebekah, demonstrating her own sense of destiny and courage, chose to accompany the servant back to Canaan. Isaac, meditating in the field at dusk, lifted his eyes and saw camels approaching. Rebekah, laying eyes on Isaac, alighted from her camel and covered herself with a veil, a symbol of modesty and respect. Their meeting was a moment of profound connection, and Isaac, finding solace in Rebekah's presence, took her as his wife. The sands of time continued to flow, and Abraham, embracing love once more, married Keturah, fathering several more children. However, ensuring his legacy and God's promise, he bequeathed all he had to Isaac, while granting gifts to his other sons and sending them eastward. As the sun set on Abraham's life at 175 years, he took his last breath, leaving behind an unparalleled legacy. His sons, Isaac and Ishmael, united in grief, buried him beside Sarah in the cave of Machpelah, honoring the patriarch who had journeyed with unwavering faith, resilience and hope. From heart-wrenching farewells to hope-filled unions, Chapter 17 underscores life's transient nature and the lasting impact of choices, faith and love, immortalizing Abraham's legacy for generations to come. Welcome to the Stories of Genesis by Bible Intelligence. You are listening to part 3 of 3. In this part, we will look at the stories of Jacob to the stories of Joseph. Chapter 18, Birthrights and Blessings. In the intricate dance of destiny, two brothers emerged, twined together by birth but destined for divergent paths, their choices and ambitions setting the stage for a tale of rivalry, deception, and divine destiny. Rebekah, once barren, was now with child. Yet her pregnancy was tumultuous, the children within her jostling with such vigor that she sought divine insight. God's revelation was profound. Two nations resided within her womb, two peoples destined to diverge, with the older serving the younger. The prophecy began to manifest with their birth. Esau emerged first, red and covered in hair, a robust embodiment of the wild. Jacob followed, his hand grasping Esau's heel, hinting at a lifelong pursuit. The boys grew, their differences becoming starkly evident. Esau, the elder, was a skillful hunter, a man of the fields, favorited by Isaac. Jacob, the contemplative, dwelled in tents and was Rebekah's favored son. A defining moment arrived unexpectedly. Esau, returning famished from a hunt, found Jacob cooking a stew. Driven by his immediate hunger and dismissing the value of his birthright, Esau traded it for a bowl of lentil stew. Jacob, ever the strategist, seized the opportunity, asking Esau to swear away his birthright. Esau complied, driven by his present desires, neglecting the weight of his ancestral legacy. Time flowed, and another pivotal episode unfolded. Isaac, now old and vision-impaired, expressed a desire to bless Esau before his impending death. He sent Esau to hunt and prepare his favorite meal. Rebekah, overhearing this, devised a plan. Determined to secure this blessing for Jacob, she instructed him to bring 2 young goats, which he would prepare in the manner Isaac loved. Jacob, donning skins on his arms and neck to mimic Esau's hairy texture, and wearing his brother's clothing, approached his father with the meal. Isaac, though initially suspicious due to Jacob's voice, was convinced by the feel of Jacob's disguised arms and the taste of the food. Bestowing a heartfelt blessing upon Jacob, Isaac unknowingly transferred prosperity, power, and dominion to the younger son. Esau's return and the realization of the deception was heartbreaking. His anguished plea for a blessing from Isaac was met with a lesser benediction, a life away from the earth's richness and a future of servitude to his brother. Vowing revenge once Isaac passed away, Esau's rage put Jacob's life in peril. Rebekah, sensing the danger, advised Jacob to flee to her brother Laban's home in Haran, both to escape Esau's wrath and to find a wife from her own kin. Amidst the winds of destiny, choices made in moments of hunger and ambition, draped in the shadows of deception, set forth a chain of events. Jacob, now bearing the weight of the birthright and blessing, embarked on a journey into the unknown, even as the prophecy began its slow unfolding. Chapter 19, Flight to Laban and Love's Pursuit. As destiny's path unwound, Jacob found himself a fugitive from home, embarking on a journey laden with dreams, promises, and the magnetic pull of love. Departing from Beersheba with the rising sun, Jacob ventured into unknown lands. As night fell upon a place named Luz, weary and contemplative, he used a stone as his pillow and drifted into sleep. That night, the heavens unveiled a vision, a grand ladder bridging earth to the celestial realms, angels ascending and descending in divine choreography. At its zenith stood God, reaffirming the covenant made with Abraham and Isaac. The promise of the land, countless descendants and blessings were renewed, coupled with the assurance of God's protection throughout Jacob's journey. Awakening in awe, Jacob consecrated the place, renaming it Bethel, or House of God. Pouring oil upon the stone that cradled his head, he made a vow. If God protected him, provided for him, and brought him back home safely, he would serve the Lord and offer a tenth of all he had. Continuing his travels, Jacob finally arrived at the land of the eastern peoples. By a well, he witnessed shepherds awaiting their turn to water their flocks. Inquiring about Laban, he learned that his journey was nearing its destination. Then, as if scripted by destiny, Rachel, Laban's younger daughter, approached with her flock. Jacob, with a strength fueled by emotion, rolled away the stone covering the well, watering Rachel's sheep. Overwhelmed, he kissed Rachel and revealed his kinship. In tears, Rachel hurried home to inform her family. Laban, upon hearing the news, welcomed Jacob warmly. As time passed, Jacob's affection for Rachel deepened, and he offered to work 7 years for Laban in exchange for Rachel's hand in marriage. Laban agreed, and Jacob, driven by love, felt those years pass like mere days. However, on the wedding night, in a twist of fate, Laban deceived Jacob by substituting Leah, his elder daughter, for Rachel. It was only at dawn that Jacob discovered the ruse. Laban defended his actions by citing the custom of marrying the elder daughter first, but offered Rachel in marriage too, in return for another 7 years of labour. Heartbroken but undeterred, Jacob agreed, and after a week with Leah, he married Rachel. Amidst the tapestry of dreams, divine promises, and human desires, Jacob's journey took root in a foreign land. While deception replayed in his own life, the intensity of his love for Rachel became the beacon that illuminated his path. Chapter 20. Deceptions and Dreams. In Laban's land, the intricate dance of deceit continued, woven with familial ties and divine dreams, shaping the destiny of Jacob and the tribes to come. Life in Haran held both blessings and challenges for Jacob. While his family grew, so did tensions with Laban. Leah, though not Jacob's initial choice, bore him many sons: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, as well as a daughter named Dinah. Rachel, on the other hand, remained barren for a time, her longing for a child leading her to offer her maidservant Bilhah to Jacob. Through Bilhah, Jacob fathered Dan and Naphtali. Leah, in a mirrored move, offered her maidservant Zilpah, through whom Jacob had Gad and Asher. Eventually God remembered Rachel, blessing her with a son, Joseph, a child of Jacob's old age and a beacon of Rachel's hope. As Jacob's family and wealth expanded, so did the envy and deceit that tainted his relationship with Laban. Laban, benefiting from Jacob's presence and hard work, changed Jacob's wages multiple times, attempting to retain as much wealth as possible. But Jacob, guided by dreams and divine intuition, devised a plan using speckled and spotted rods while breeding the flocks. This strategy not only increased his own livestock, but ensured their strength and vitality, leading to an abundance of speckled, spotted, and dark-coloured animals in his possession. Yet it wasn't just through the tangible that God communicated with Jacob. In a vivid dream, Jacob saw the male goats mating with the speckled, spotted, and striped female goats. God reminded Jacob of the deceit he faced at Laban's hands, guiding him to notice the livestock and revealing the strategy Jacob should employ. Recognizing the mounting tensions and heeding God's command to return to his homeland, Jacob discussed his intentions with Leah and Rachel. United in their feelings of alienation from Laban and acknowledging the divine intervention that enriched Jacob despite Laban's deceit, they supported Jacob's decision to depart. Under the guise of shearing his sheep, Jacob, along with his family and possessions, fled Laban's domain, unknowingly accompanied by household idols stolen by Rachel. Amidst dreams and deceptions, Jacob's sojourn in Haran wove a tale of divine guidance, familial intrigues, and the foundational formation of the tribes of Israel. Chapter 21. Wrestling with God and Reconciliation. In the crucible of night, by the river's edge, Jacob wrestled with the divine. Emergent challenges, inner turmoil, and profound transformation would mark this pivotal chapter of his life. As Jacob journeyed back towards Canaan, Apprehensions loomed large. The spectre of Esau, with the memory of past betrayals, weighed heavily on his mind. To seek favor and protection, Jacob sent messengers ahead with gifts for Esau, only to learn that his brother was approaching with 400 men. Distressed, Jacob divided his family and flocks into 2 groups, hoping at least one would survive if Esau attacked. That night, he sent them across the Jabbok River, staying behind in solitude. In the mysterious shroud of night, a man appeared and wrestled with Jacob until daybreak. In this fierce struggle, as dawn approached, the man saw he could not overpower Jacob and touched his hip, wrenching it out of its socket. Even in pain, Jacob held on, demanding a blessing before letting go. It was then that the realization dawned. Jacob was not wrestling with just any man, but with God himself. In this divine encounter, the man declared, "Your name will no longer be Jacob but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." Bestowing a blessing upon him, the figure vanished with the breaking dawn. Limping from his injured hip, Jacob named the place Peniel, saying, "It is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared." With a newfound sense of purpose and identity, Jacob prepared to face Esau. He arranged his family, placing the maidservants and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. As Esau approached, Jacob went ahead of them, bowing to the ground 7 times, signaling his respect and submission. To the astonishment of many, Esau ran to meet Jacob, embracing him, weeping and kissing him. The rifts of the past melted away in this moment of heartfelt reconciliation. Esau, initially resistant to the gifts Jacob sent, eventually accepted them, acknowledging the depth of Jacob's gesture. Jacob's return to Canaan marked not only his physical journey, but a spiritual transformation, from a man who once used deceit to gain blessings, to one who wrestled with God himself to receive them. Amidst challenges and confrontations, both divine and mortal, Jacob's path became a testament to change, growth, and the power of reconciliation. Chapter 22: Return, Loss, and Legacy. In the undulating rhythms of life, Jacob, now Israel, embraced moments of return, grappled with profound loss, and beheld the unfolding of a legacy far greater than himself. Upon their reconciliation, Esau offered to accompany Jacob and his family on their journey, but Jacob, citing the need for a slower pace due to the children and livestock, politely declined. They parted ways with goodwill, Esau returning to Seir and Jacob heading to the city of Shechem in Canaan. Jacob bought a plot of land near Shechem, setting up an altar he named El Elohe Israel, meaning God, the God of Israel. Yet the tranquility of this new beginning was short-lived. A grievous event occurred when Dinah, Jacob's daughter, was violated by Shechem, the prince of the city. In a bid for justice and retribution, Levi and Simeon, Dinah's brothers, schemed and took violent action against the men of the city. This act deeply troubled Jacob, who feared reprisals from neighboring tribes. But God intervened, instructing Jacob to move to Bethel and build an altar there. Before embarking on this journey, Jacob demanded the purging of foreign gods from his household, signaling a renewed commitment to the God of his fathers. Arriving in Bethel, Jacob built the altar as God instructed. Here, God appeared to him once again, reiterating the name change from Jacob to Israel and reaffirming the covenant promises, abundant descendants and the land of Canaan as an inheritance. But as life ebbed and flowed, moments of sorrow intertwined with the divine blessings. Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, passed away and was buried beneath an oak, subsequently named Allon Bakuth, or Oak of Weeping. An even more profound grief enveloped Jacob when Rachel, the love of his life, died giving birth to their second son, Benjamin. In inconsolable sorrow, Jacob set up a pillar over her grave, marking the spot that would later be known as Bethlehem. Moving on from this heart-wrenching loss, Jacob rejoined his father Isaac in Hebron. Their reunion, however, was soon followed by another departure. Isaac, aged and full of years, breathed his last and was buried by both his sons, Jacob and Esau, marking the end of an era. Yet life's tapestry continued to weave patterns of promise and legacy. Jacob's sons, the progenitors of the 12 tribes of Israel, stood as living testaments to the divine covenants that would shape the destiny of a nation. In the shadows and light of return, loss and legacy, Jacob's journey became a testament to faith, resilience and the enduring promises of God. Chapter 23: dreams and betrayal. In the tapestry of time, dreams are threads that weave destiny and design. For young Joseph, a dreamer with a coat of many colours, these visions would set a path of trials, tests and transformation. Amidst the vast landscapes of Canaan, Joseph, the favoured son of Jacob and Rachel, was distinguished not just by his father's love, but by a splendid coat of many colours, a gift from Jacob. This vivid garment, however, became a symbol of envy for his 11 brothers, sowing seeds of discord. Joseph's dreams further fanned the flames of their discontent. In one vision he dreamt of sheaves of grain. While his sheaf stood upright, the sheaves of his brothers bowed down to it. In another, the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed down to him. These dreams, seen as overt symbols of dominion, were shared with his family. While Jacob pondered the meanings, the brothers simmered in resentment. One day Jacob sent Joseph to Shechem, where his brothers were grazing the flocks, to check on their well-being. However, seeing him approach from afar and with hearts darkened by jealousy, the brothers conspired to kill him. "Here comes that dreamer," they scoffed. Reuben, the eldest, sought to protect Joseph. He persuaded his siblings to throw Joseph into a dry pit, intending to rescue him later. But destiny had other plans. While Reuben was away, Midianite merchants approached. Judah, seizing an opportunity, proposed that they sell Joseph to these traders instead of shedding his blood. For 20 pieces of silver, Joseph's fate shifted from a pit in Canaan to the land of Egypt. Returning to their father, the brothers presented Joseph's multicoloured coat, deceitfully stained with goat's blood. Jacob, in anguish, recognized it immediately. "A wild animal has devoured him," he mourned, believing his beloved son to be dead. Unbeknownst to Jacob, in Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guard. Thus, the stage was set for a saga that would intertwine dreams, destiny, and divine providence. In the dance of dreams and betrayal, Joseph's journey had only just begun, a path that would test his faith, character, and resilience. Chapter 24. Trials in Egypt. In the crucible of Egypt, Joseph would face trials and tribulations. But even in adversity, his unwavering faith and integrity would shine brightly, carving a path to his destiny. Joseph, a stranger in the land of pyramids and pharaohs, found himself in the service of Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials. God's favour was evident upon him, and Joseph prospered in everything he undertook. Recognizing Joseph's exceptional qualities, Potiphar appointed him overseer of his household, entrusting all that he had into Joseph's care. But as the days turned into months, a shadow loomed over Joseph's success. Potiphar's wife, taken by Joseph's good looks and charm, tried to seduce him. With unwavering integrity, Joseph refused, asserting, "How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" His repeated refusals, however, only intensified her pursuit. One fateful day, when Joseph entered the house to attend to his duties, she caught hold of his cloak, imploring him to be with her. He fled, leaving his cloak behind. Enraged by the rejection, she cried out, claiming that Joseph had tried to take advantage of her. Presenting the cloak as evidence, she narrated a fabricated tale to her husband. Potiphar's fury burned against Joseph. Without a trial or a chance to defend himself, Joseph was thrown into the king's prison. Yet, even in the confines of those cold, dark walls, the Lord was with Joseph, extending kindness and favour to him. The prison warden saw that God was with him and soon entrusted Joseph with the charge of all the prisoners. Among the prison's inhabitants were 2 of Pharaoh's officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker. Both troubled by vivid dreams, they shared them with Joseph, who interpreted that the cupbearer would be restored to his position, while the baker would meet a tragic end. Events unfolded just as Joseph had predicted. As the chief cupbearer left the prison, Joseph implored him to remember him and mention his plight to Pharaoh. However, amidst the celebrations of his restoration, the chief cupbearer forgot about Joseph. And so Joseph's days in the dungeon continued, waiting for God's timing, remaining faithful even when forgotten. Through trials and tribulations, Joseph's faith remained unshaken. His journey was a testament to the belief that even in the darkest times, God's presence is a guiding light. Chapter 25. From Dungeon to Palace. When dreams meet destiny, the tapestry of God's plan unravels in mysterious ways. For Joseph, the walls of the dungeon would soon give way to the grandeur of the palace. Time slipped away in the dim confines of the prison, but the stage was being set for a divine orchestration. Pharaoh, the ruler of all Egypt, was troubled by two enigmatic dreams. In one, 7 healthy cows were devoured by 7 gaunt cows, and in the other, 7 plump heads of grain were swallowed by 7 thin and scorched ones. The mystique of these dreams vexed Pharaoh, and none in his realm could decipher them. Then, the memory of a young Hebrew in the dungeons, adept in the art of dream interpretation, sprung to the chief cupbearer's mind. He recounted to Pharaoh about Joseph's uncanny accuracy in interpreting his own dream and that of the chief baker. With urgency, Joseph was summoned from the depths of the dungeon. Shaven and dressed fittingly for the court, he stood before Pharaoh. Humbly, Joseph clarified, "I cannot do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." Hearing the dreams, Joseph discerned their meaning. Egypt would experience 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of severe famine. The dream was a divine warning, urging preparation. Joseph advised Pharaoh to appoint a discerning and wise man to oversee the collection and storage of surplus grain during the years of plenty to be used during the famine. Impressed by Joseph's wisdom and recognizing the divine spirit within him, Pharaoh declared, "Can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God?" Without hesitation, he appointed Joseph as the second in command over all of Egypt, granting him authority, a gold chain, fine linen robes, and a chariot. In a transformative moment, Joseph, once a slave and prisoner, was now the governor of Egypt, overseeing its preparations against the impending famine. As a symbol of his new position and life, Pharaoh gave him a new name, Zaphenath-Paneah, and a wife, Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, the priest of On. From the depths of despair to the pinnacle of power, Joseph's ascent was not just a personal triumph, but a manifestation of divine providence, preparing him for a purpose far greater than he could imagine. Chapter 26. Famine and Reunion. In the vast landscape of life's trials, the echoes of the past often intertwine with the present. As Egypt's granaries brimmed, the shadows of a looming famine promised not just a test of leadership for Joseph, but a poignant reunion. The 7 years of abundance in Egypt were like none other. The land produced plentifully, filling the granaries under Joseph's watchful oversight. Yet, as prophesied, these years of plenty gave way to a barrenness that gripped not only Egypt but the entire known world. Famine, with its relentless grip, stretched far and wide, reaching even to the distant lands of Canaan, where Jacob and his sons resided. As hunger gnawed at their bellies, Jacob heard that Egypt had grain and instructed his sons to journey there to buy food. Little did they know that they would stand before their long-lost brother, seeking sustenance. When the 10 brothers arrived in Egypt, they bowed before the powerful Egyptian governor, fulfilling Joseph's earlier dream, but they failed to recognize him. Speaking through an interpreter, Joseph tested them, accusing them of being spies. To prove their innocence, the brothers spoke of their family, mentioning their youngest brother Benjamin, who had stayed behind, and another brother who is no more. Joseph, his emotions swirling, demanded that Benjamin be brought to him to verify their words, and kept Simeon as a guarantee. With heavy hearts and grain-laden sacks, the brothers returned to Canaan, only to discover that their money had been mysteriously returned in their bags, a further enigma that filled them with dread. Upon their return, Jacob resisted sending Benjamin back with them. However, as the famine persisted, he conceded, entrusting Benjamin to Judah's care. As a token of goodwill, Jacob also sent gifts and double the money. Upon seeing Benjamin, Joseph was overwhelmed with emotion. Retreating to his chambers, he wept. During a feast, he seated his brothers in the order of their ages, further confounding them. Yet the ultimate test was to come. Joseph devised a plan, planting his silver cup in Benjamin's sack. As the brothers departed, they were soon accosted, and the cup discovered. Desperate and anguished, they returned to Joseph's palace, where Judah passionately pleaded for Benjamin's release, offering himself as a replacement. Touched by Judah's sacrifice and unable to contain his emotions any longer, Joseph revealed his true identity. "I am Joseph," he cried. "Is my father still living?" The brothers, stunned and speechless, were reassured by Joseph's words of grace. "Do not be distressed. God sent me ahead of you to preserve life." A tale of trials turned to triumph. The reunion of a family torn apart by jealousy showcased the power of forgiveness, love, and God's mysterious ways. Chapter 27. Redemption and Legacy. Amidst the vast tapestry of human experience, threads of redemption weave a tale of love restored and destinies fulfilled. For the house of Jacob, Egypt would become both a sanctuary and a crucible, setting the stage for a legacy that would shape history. With Joseph's identity unveiled and past grievances forgiven, the brothers were sent back to Canaan with a message for Jacob. God has made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not tarry. Along with this invitation came Egyptian carts and provisions, a tangible testament to Joseph's esteemed position. When the news reached Jacob, he was initially incredulous, yet upon seeing the carts and hearing Joseph's words, his spirit revived, declaring, "My son Joseph is still alive, I will go and see him before I die." The patriarch set out for Egypt with all his family, possessions, and livestock. En route at Beersheba, God spoke to Jacob in a vision by night, reassuring him of his decision to descend to Egypt and promising that he would make of Jacob a great nation there and would eventually bring his descendants back to the promised land. Upon reaching Egypt, Joseph and Jacob shared a tearful and heartfelt reunion. Presented before Pharaoh, Jacob blessed the Egyptian king and settled in the region of Goshen, an ideal pastureland for his flocks. There the Israelites thrived, growing in number and prosperity. As time wore on and the famine ended, Jacob felt the weight of his years and the approach of his final days. Calling Joseph to his side, he extracted a promise that he would not be buried in Egypt, but in the land of his forefathers, in the cave of Machpelah. The end drew near for Jacob, but not before he blessed Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, and prophetically blessed each of his own sons, laying out the destinies and traits of the 12 tribes of Israel. Jacob's final breath was drawn in the presence of his sons, after which he was embalmed in the Egyptian fashion. Upholding his promise, Joseph led a grand procession to Canaan, burying his father alongside Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah, and Leah. Returning to Egypt, Joseph lived to see his great-grandchildren. Before his death, he reassured his brothers of God's continued providence and expressed his hope that God would one day lead the Israelites back to the promised land. His last request mirrored his father's, to carry his bones from Egypt when that day arrived. From betrayal to redemption, the story of Joseph and his family illustrates the profound ways in which God molds, refines, and redeems. In the corridors of time, their legacy stands as a testament to faith, perseverance, and divine providence. Chapter 28. Genesis recounted, the dawn of legacy. In the nascent echoes of creation to the flourishing tribes of Israel, Genesis paints a canvas rich with wonder, trials, and divine orchestration. Here, at the crossroads of faith and history, we look back on the legacy birthed in Genesis. The universe burst forth from God's command, shaping skies, stars, and the vibrant tapestry of life on earth. In the heart of a garden named Eden, the first humans, Adam and Eve, experienced perfect communion with God, only to be distanced by an act of disobedience, setting in motion humanity's intrinsic struggle with sin. From Cain and Abel's fraternal discord to Noah's Ark of salvation amidst a world-engulfing deluge, early narratives depicted both humanity's propensity for wrongdoing and God's unwavering mercy. Following the flood, humanity's hubris reached new heights with the construction of the Tower of Babel, leading to a dispersion of languages and peoples. Abram, later named Abraham, emerged as a beacon of faith. From his call to leave his homeland to the promise of innumerable descendants, his journey was marked by trials, covenants, and God's enduring faithfulness. Sarah, his wife, laughed in disbelief at the prophecy of her late-age pregnancy, yet Isaac, the child of promise, was born. Isaac's own journey interwove love, in the form of his wife Rebekah, and tests, most poignantly when God asked for his sacrifice, only to provide a ram as a substitute. The narrative thread then wove through the lives of Esau and Jacob, the latter of whom wrestled with God and was renamed Israel. The 12 sons of Jacob, especially Joseph, became central figures. Sold into Egyptian slavery due to jealousy, Joseph's path from dungeon to palace exemplified God's providential care. In Egypt, he was not just a savior to the Egyptians, but also to his own family, laying the foundation for Israel's growth into a mighty nation. Genesis closed with Jacob's blessings on his sons, the forefathers of the 12 tribes of Israel, and Joseph's passing, with a forward-looking hope of a return to the Promised Land. Genesis, meaning beginning, truly encapsulates the inception of God's relationship with humanity. In its stories we find the roots of faith, love, betrayal, and redemption, themes that resonate across ages, reminding us of God's enduring love and purpose. This concludes the stories of Genesis by Bible Intelligence. You have reached the end.